Richard's in this morning to have a look at 0% transfers, as well as 3 of the best deals that you can get from separate banks. But let's start with the kind of whys and wherefores with 0% balance transfers. Basically, how does it work?
Well, your 0% balance transfer is a retail trap. We talked about retail traps before, and this is a financial retail trap, but it's actually one that you can work to your advantage, particularly in the current climate, and there's still some good deals to be had. There's a couple of things you need to be aware of with balance transfers. For example, they usually have a limited lifespan, so you may get a cash balance transfer which will last for 9 months and a purchase transfer of 6 months. So everything that you transfer is interest-free for 9 months and everything you purchase is interest-free for 6 months. However, if you run beyond those periods, the APR will kick in, and you're usually looking at a typical APR of between 15% and 16% on most of the decent credit cards out there. So unless you're able to actually clear the balance in full, or the majority of it, it's not worth doing. Also, if you make payments that are late, or not at all, then that APR will kick in.
There's usually as well, and I only know because I've done this myself, there's usually a small charge, isn't there, sort of like 5% or 3%,
yes,
whatever it is, to actually put the balance onto that card as well?
Yes, that's what they would call it, the handling fee. So that's the moving of the cash from one provider to the other. And you're right, it's usually about, maximum would be 5%, typical would be 3.5%, a minimum £3 charge. They put the minimum £3 charge in there to make you think, oh, actually, that handling fee will only be cheap because the minimum's only £3. Right. But that would be £3 versus £100 transfer. It's likely to be in the tens of pounds, if not hundreds, if you've got many thousands on your credit card.
Well, sticking with the minimum monthly payments, the minimum payments especially, does it prolong the actual ordeal of paying off your debt if you're just paying the minimum?
If you have a credit card and you maintain the balance with a minimum payment only, you need to take a long, hard look at your finances. If you're able to make much, much more, do it. Do not pay the minimum payment. They've got you in for life. What they want to do is make the loan last as long as possible. That APR is an annual percentage rate. So obviously, the more annuals, the more years you get in with your balance, the more interest that you're paying, the more money the credit card company make from you. So don't make the minimum payment.
Yeah, because well, as I said, when I transferred mine, I thought, oh, I'll clear it in 10 months, it'll be fine, I'll pay X amount. I ended up paying the minimum, and then it came to the end of its term, and then I was hit with this whopping grey APR, as you say. Is there a limit, I suppose, of how many times you can change around? Because I suppose the inclination is, at the end of my 0%, I'll look for another one and transfer the balance. Is that a no-no? Technically,
there is no limit. But something that we've talked about in the past is applying for credit on numerous occasions actually impacts upon your credit rating. And obviously, credit card providers can see who you're dealing with and who you're applying to. So after 2 or 3 attempts at doing this, they're going to become wise to your scenario, and eventually somebody's going to go, no, enough's enough. So you're stuck with the card. So if your long-term plan is just to keep transferring 0% to 0%, then don't do it, because eventually you're going to come to an impasse, which will mean that you're paying the 15 to 16% APR. And you're the perfect customer in terms of making that minimum payment. Oh, yes, I'll clear it within the 9 months. But, of course, you don't. Something else crops up, another expense, so you go for the minimum payment, and they've got you in as a prime customer.
You're back at 8:30, Richard, but before we leave it for the time being, can we rattle through your 3 top best deals?
Yeah, the 3 best ones at the minute is Virgin. They've got a 0% for 15 months on balance transfers and 6 months on all purchases. And we've got the Halifax and the Bank of Scotland, which are both doing balance transfers at 9 months, and I believe their purchases are also 9 months as well at 0%. And all 3 have a typical APR after that period kicks out at between 15 to 16.6% APR.
Just very, very quickly, because we are out of time, is this a preferable way, then, of dealing with any debt you might have at the moment? With it being an uncertain time for people, is this a good idea, instead of trying to get a loan, pop it in one place where you're getting no interest and try and pay it off as and when you can?
If you want a loan that you can service with a loan repayment plan, excuse me, go for the loan. Because the interest rates are more attractive. If you're trying to manage credit card debt and you can get through the credit card application, then do it, but be aware of all the pitfalls we've talked about this morning.
Okay. Excellent. Thanks, Richard. And as I said, Mr. Fenton will be back at 8:30 with more credit card advice tips.
Certainly will. Time for a quick break now, though. Coming up after which, we'll have all the latest news, traffic, travel and weather, plus all your latest sport news with Mike Bradley.